Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Part 12, the Bio-Techno Enslavement, paren, the Singularity, end paren. All right, tomorrow I hope to have Sabrina Wallace with me to discuss the cognitive electronic warfare topic. That'll be video number 13, Masonic number 13. Despite the fact that neither Sabrina nor myself are Masons, and there is no unity amongst Masons on our channel. For you peanut gallery critics out there, just letting you know. So today we're going to talk about the singularity. All right. Now, it goes by other names too. Of course, the biodigital convergence is the most common name, but the singularity refers to a technological singularity. Let me read from Wikipedia. I'll provide a link below. It is a hypothetical future point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, which will result in an unforeseeable consequences for the human civilization. According to the most popular version of singularity hypothesis, I.J. Goode's intelligence explosion model of 1985, an upgradable intelligent agent could eventually either become a positive feedback loop for self-improvement cycles, each new and more intelligent generation appearing more and more rapidly, causing a rapid increase or explosion in intelligence, which would ultimately result in a powerful super intelligence, quantitatively far surpassing all human intelligence. Anyway, that's kind of a mouthful, but let's just say that we have passed the point of no return, and we are well into what I refer to and what Sabrina Wallace refers to as inescapable and ubiquitous technological assimilation. A singularity is underway, and it's been underway before the COVID hoax operation was rolled out. The COVID hoax operation was enormously successful. Now, what I mean when I say it was a hoax, just like the Donald Trump fake assassination was a hoax, means that COVID was a planned event, planned decades before it occurred. And it followed, of course, the bird flu and the swine flu and the Asian flu and the Hong Kong flu and other planned demics. It's just that the COVID was a global pandemic, which technically is impossible. You cannot have every zip code in every Hunger Game district in the world contract a corona spy satellite virus simultaneously around the world. Tom Hanks being the first Hollywood actor to be stricken with the deadly coronavirus. He didn't die. He didn't die, but he disappeared for 3 years. He's been gone. Where are you, Tom Hanks? Are you with Jeffrey Epstein? Are you with Anne Heche? Right? Where are you? Where are you, Tom Hanks? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We don't know where he is. And he is no longer doing films. All right. So the technological singularity has to do primarily with the technology of the 5G towers, which have been upgraded to 6G terahertz, which is 1,000 times more powerful than 5G waves. We now have millimeter waves under 6G terahertz. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. Then we have NATO airplanes dumping smart dust particulates, biosensors full of graphene, aluminum, titanium, lithium, strontium, barium, etc., arsenic poison, probably. Anyway, they've been dumping that like every 10 minutes, 16 hours a day, everywhere in the world for 2 years now. And previously, they were dumping it at a slower pace. That's 7G technology. In other words, it's still the 6G terahertz electronic energy, but now that energy is bouncing off all the air pollution, all the particulates in the sky. And it's bouncing off all the bunny rabbits and squirrels and birds and bees. The bees are all augmented now with the smart dust. All the humans that are out there running and cycling and getting out and hiking and hiking up Half Dome in Yosemite Park and going to see what's left of Glacier National Park. There are no glaciers in Glacier National Park. If you didn't know, it's Glacier National Park minus the glaciers. But if you're out there getting exercise and feeling good about yourself, just know you're polluting the heck out of your skin, your eyes, your breathable air, your lungs are ingesting all of these nanoparticulates, which include biosensors, which hook you up to the cloud, which hook you up to each other and turn you into a human antenna. And God forbid, if you're vaccinated and boosted, or you get a flu shot, or you go to the dentist a lot and get lidocaine injections, you are aglow. You are aglow with radio frequency. You're also subjected to photonics and light weapons, because every neighborhood, everywhere on the planet Earth, rural or urban, has photonics, which is sound beams, sound waves, and it has light bending, LED light beaming, and it has, of course, the electronic magnetic frequency electric warfare, which we now call CEW, cognitive electric warfare, which Sabrina and I will be talking about tomorrow. But my point is that whatever radio frequency weapons we had 5 years ago are greatly enhanced by the air pollution and the weather warfare, because not only can the pollution particulates in our sky that linger for days, not only are those particulates capable of tracking and targeting humans in zip codes, they also can modify the weather. They can make a cold day colder, a hot day hotter. They can make it windy when it's not. They can be used to make it rain and then rain down the particulates into the groundwater and onto the lawn in your park and into your children's playgrounds. Anyway, that's the world in which we live in through no fault of our own, other than the fact that we've acquiesced and allowed it to happen. Nobody's ever said no to a cell phone. Nobody's ever said no to an upgrade. Nobody has ever said no to 5G. And I already told you we're on 7G. Been on 7G for a couple of years, at least. And I'm going to base that on the ringing in my ear. I'm going to say that we've been on 7G for 3 years. That's about how long I've had ringing in my ears. And what I'm telling you is that that all goes to Singularity. But this situation that we're in, which is the biodigital convergence, which mainly is focusing on biology, microbiology, nanotechnology, smart dust networks, DARPA, NATO. Let me say it again: NATO, military forces, Raytheon, missile guidance systems, Lockheed, Boeing, Palantir, NVIDIA, Facebook, Meta, Genentech, Novartis, out of Basel, Switzerland, the movement to digital money, the disappearance of banks, the disappearance of ATM machines, the disappearance of businesses accepting cash money, the disappearance of family-owned businesses and restaurants, the advent of the corporate takeover to a higher level. You know, Starbucks being a good example of taking over the coffee business, right? And the destruction of saloons, neighborhood bars, meeting places where people socialized. The biodigital convergence is so much larger than what's advertised by the World Economic Forum in Geneva, Switzerland. It is having to do with destruction of religion, destruction of family values, the destruction of the family unit, the destruction of the economics by destroying small businesses and employment opportunities, and going to a singular corporate narrative where 100% of all the corporations promoted masking, 100% of the corporations promoted the jab. Most of them made it a mandatory jab. All of the colleges and universities adopted a Singularity universal COVID hoax policy. So mandated vaccines, which have graphene or aluminum metal particulates in them, hooking you up to the internet even quicker. Wearing a obedience ritual mask, like Sleepy Joe Biden wore, like Donald the Trumpster wore, like Stormy Daniels undoubtedly wore. like Kamala Harris wore, like Robert Kennedy Jr. wore. Those are cult ritual obedience masks. Nothing to do with anything other than obedience. In other words, are you augmented? Are you pacified in control? Okay. And that's one of the things that I want to make crystal clear on my channel is that augmentation on the juxtaposition channel means you're pacified and controlled, meaning you're obedient, you're a deer in the headlights, you await the command, you await the command, you obey authority. It means you make no independent decisions on your own, that your thoughts are not your own. You think your thoughts are your own, but if they're programmed in there and you're wearing a face diaper, that means your thoughts are not your own. You are getting along by going along, somehow wrongly thinking that you'll be safe if you go with the flow, right? That's how all corporations work. We get along by going along, or as Colonel Jessup said on the witness stand in A Few Good Men, we follow orders or people die. It's just that simple. Except through deductive reasoning and laser guided focus, Lieutenant Caffey was able to trick Colonel Jessup into a circular loop of hypocrisy and failed logic. Because if Santiago was safe because Jessup ordered the men to stand down from delivering a code red, and that code reds don't happen because his orders are always followed, then Santiago should never have been in any danger, and he shouldn't have been murdered or accidentally manslaughter killed, right? Because he had a code red. So in other words, the media lies, Colonel Jessup lied, Guantanamo Bay lies, it's a prisoner dilemma camp, as is all of Cuba, as is all of the America that you think you believe in, as is all of Vietnam. Everything that we did in Vietnam is being done everywhere in the whole world, okay? We use psychological control, we use sociological control. We know that people are monkey see, monkey do, that the face diaper unto itself means little unless other people mimic it, like a monkey would do, like Ronald Reagan knew with Bonzo the chimp, Bedtime for Bonzo. If you didn't know, that film was about teaching a chimpanzee ethical moral codes to assimilate into a culture. That's what the movie Bedtime for Bonzo, and then the sequel, Bonzo Goes to College. Bonzo Goes to College, which is an assimilation center. Universities are indoctrination and assimilation centers. Ronald Reagan did those films in 1951 and 1952. Okay, that was a long time ago, right? That's the situation we find ourselves in today. We're in a Ronald Reagan film. Ronald Reagan is a professional actor. He was not a governor. He was a fake governor of California. He was the fake president of the fake United States of America. He was one of the best fake presidents we've ever had because he knew how to memorize his lines. He followed the cue cards. He could read a teleprompter professionally. He had excellent makeup and wardrobe. That's it. That's what you got with Ronald Reagan. You got a professional actor pretending to be president. That's much better than what we got today with, Fordham University, Donald Trump, right? Or Howard University, Kamala Harris, or Harvard and London School of Economics indoctrinated Robert Kennedy Jr. We have a great singularity, and we've had that already. But you see, they've broken down the walls of the fabric of our society: religion, churches, gathering in the park, the family unit, fewer jobs, greater unemployment, the preposterous prices of housing and rents, so that young people can't leave home, or they got to share and have multiple roommates. This is all by design. This is only a banker can pull that off. Only shadow banking, private banking, money laundering banking, only that can weaponize the stock market, the bond market, credit money, fake credit money. Only a banking centralized control can shut down ATMs and branches, which is what they're doing. They're actively eliminating banks from your community. They're going to go to a cashless society. It's going to be called They'll call it a lot of things, but it's the central bank digital currency concept, CBDC, where it will be based on GPS tracking you personally, creating a dossier on all of your behavior, your health information, your obedience score, how fast you drive your car, if you speed a lot, if you get tickets, if you have any criminal convictions in a maritime law courtroom. All that information is going to be in your file. And based on your behavior, your money may turn off. It may turn off, and your ability to put gasoline in your car to leave your smart grid detention center will be modified to prevent you from leaving. Now, you can get on your bicycle and you can try to ride, which you could do. But the problem is, if you're carrying cash, most stores aren't going to take your cash. Then if you use your debit card, it's not going to work. So you got a problem unless you have a support system of people who are in compliance that can assist you beyond your 15-minute city. Do you see how the technological singularity works? The bio-digital convergence, the idea that you are traced, tracked, and targeted 24/7, and that your behavior and your compliance and whether or not you're boosted and you get a bird flu vaccination, because we're going to have the bird flu, then there's already a bird flu vaccination that's been created in advance of the pandemic bird flu. And if you refuse to get the vaccine, then your credit money isn't going to work, right? You're disobedient. So then if you ask vaccinated people to help you, then their credit score is going to go down and their money will turn off. So then you'll become a pariah in your neighborhood, like me, right? So your neighbors are not going to want to talk to you. They're going to avoid you. They're going to cross the street when they see you coming. If you're walking your dog, they're going to, try to go the opposite direction that you're going. And you will have those feelings of living in a Twilight Zone episode where all your neighbors are, in fact, been conscripted to work for the military intelligence. That's what they did in Vietnam. That's what CORD's program was all about. Civil Operation Revolutionary Support. It's about neighbors turning against neighbors. It's about getting names on a list of non-compliant people. Then Phoenix was about kidnapping the names on the list, bringing them to an interrogation center in the 44 provinces. They had 44 provinces, 250 districts, 16,200 villages and hamlets. And they had them all mapped out, and they had a population estimate of all the villages. And then they had a list of non-compliant people in all those locations. So they had 10 years of work to do to round people up, torture them, and they murdered 26,000 of those people were killed. And they were 100% innocent civilians who did not have weapons or ammunition. They were not aiding the communists, if there ever were any communists. Anyway, they weren't part of any armed resistance, but they were non-compliant in terms of their language. And we have that today. And all your telephone calls, all your text messages, all your emails are being recorded and evaluated for compliance. So anybody that can be determined domestic arrest will be rounded up or electronically zapped into being pacified, right? That's what it's all about. It's about being obedient. It's being a deer in the headlights. It's awaiting the command. Remember, the deer, when it sees the headlights on the highway, the deer freezes in place. It should sprint to the other side of the road, or it should go back how it came. But instead, it waits on the center line where it's going to get pulverized by the oncoming vehicle. That's pacification and control. That's the disabling of your cognitive skills. That's the discernment of what to do. People don't know what to do in my neighborhood. They don't know what to do. They ask, why? Why would they do that? Why would they dump pollution on my head? Why? Well, that's the wrong question. The correct question, if your brain works correctly, is they are doing it and you should get the hell out of the way. So maybe you should wear a mask. That would be a legitimate reason to wear a mask, is to not breathe that crap, right? Except you need a mask. You need a hazardous mask. You need something they'd use at the Department of Energy weapons facility, right? You need a serious hazardous mask suit. So anyway, wanted to bring to your attention that while the World Economic Forum refers to the biodigital convergence, which is not covered in the media, they really mean the singularity. They mean the assimilation of all the humans on Earth to one world order, to one religious belief, the belief being the state. The state, the techno master is going to be your belief system. They will provide Roman circuses. They will entertain you as long as you can contribute to the techno enslavement collective based upon your Hunger Game district, because everything's been divided up into Hunger Games, which are bank districts, which roll up into Basel, Switzerland, and Basel, Switzerland follows all the anthropology policies of Geneva, which is home to the World Economic Forum, which technically is a standalone separate think tank, but it's also home to the ITU, International Telecommunications Union, which is part of the United Nations. It's home to NATO military. It's home to the Red Cross, the Knights Templar. It's home to CERN, the Nuclear Energy Commission. It is home to labor and what humans should do immigration wise. They have an immigration agency, and they have the World Health Organization, which decides your mandates for your vaccines, right? Which are part of the singularity. It's part of maintaining your connection to the electronic military internet, which is full of CubeSats, drones, helicopters, planes, things that will kill you in the middle of the night, and you can be put down at 3 o'clock in the morning in your bed, dead in your bed, which is happening already. It's already happening. Human civilization is living in a prison. It's a prison planet, right? Anyway, just want to let you know that you should always be wary of any presenter. That includes Dr. Jane Ruby. She's a Jewish mother and grandmother, and she says a lot of things that I like to hear. But I'm sick and tired of having, Jewish presenters tell us what to believe, right? Oliver Silverstein Stone, Lex Friedman. It's like there's no shortage of Jewish people to tell you what to do. And if they're not Jewish, they're Jewish managed, right? Donald Trump, completely Jewish managed. Robert Kennedy Jr., completely Jewish managed. Kamala Harris, she's married to a Jewish entertainment lawyer from San Fernando Valley. I can't think of a more bigger red flag than that. But the point is that there's not a millimeter's worth of difference between Robert Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. They're exactly the same Jewish managed hologram. And if I put Bonzo, the chimp, Ronald Reagan's chimp, against them and the chimp won, it would be the same as if Kamala Harris won. It doesn't make any difference. It's the same outcome. It's the same agenda. And the president has no authority. Everything's decided out of Geneva, Switzerland, through the bank Hunger Game managers. This is how they did it in Vietnam. That's why no one ever won the war, because there was no war. It was a pacification and control, prisoner dilemma game experiment. That's what Vietnam was. It was a huge success. Vietnam was a huge success for psychology, sociology, weapon systems, monkey see, monkey do behavior, terrorism, torture, and everything that was learned in Vietnam is being applied in Canada, Australia, Western Europe, Ukraine, Russia, China. And it's mandates, it's do what you're told. And that's the artificial intelligence. Go pound sand. If you don't like it, talk to the hand, then go pound sand. That's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow with the beguiling and majestic Sabrina Wallace of the Synergy channel. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon. Bye.